What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, Spartans of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and today we're talking about the Halo TV show. So grab yourself a bottle of vodka and pray that you are able to chemically strip the memories of that god-awful travesty away, like the Spartan 2s had their memories chemically stripped. Now, normally I would dive right into the show, but I want to talk about one of the pre-release headlines that was stated over and over and over again. The show is not canon. When you're watching an adaptation, there is an expectation that things are going to change. Look at quite possibly one of the most famous, if not infamous and divisive adaptations of all times, Game of Thrones. Spending the better part of a decade as a cultural phenomenon only to air its last episode and immediately exit the conversation, stage cliff. Few people will disagree that the first 3 to 4 seasons were anything other than brilliant TV. And those first 3 to 4 seasons changed a great many things from the story that they were adapting. Like I said, this is expected when viewing an adaptation. 343 and Paramount needed to get in front of the Halo show and tell everybody it wasn't canon because they knew they changed so much. To the point that, honestly, is it really even Halo anymore? Or is it banal, repetitive, overly generic sci-fi wearing a Halo skin? Expensive Halo fanfiction created by people who do not respect the source material and believe that they know better. This "it's not canon" excuse, it's preemptive damage control so that the writers and producers can wank off to how the average gamer bro just doesn't understand their vision whenever they come under critique.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Now, not everything is bad. The graphic depiction of violence and elites having their heads blown off by sniper rifles or people being turned into pink mist, pretty cool. It definitely answers the question, what if Halo had an M rating and was more like Gears of War? Also, the plasma pistol finally gets the respect that it deserves. There's about 10 minutes in this hour-long travesty that kinda sorta felt like Halo, but even then, some of the CGI is kind of rough. Movement can seem stilted or just wrong, and the designer's choice for the Covenant elites, from their armor to their physical appearance, wow, really made me appreciate the Halo 4 and 5 brood elites. That's for sure. Yikes. Wow, this is bad. Also, the lack of actual Covenant formations in this Halo-esque scene, the lack of grunts and jackals, made it sort of laughable. Because you would have like 1 or 2 elites and a dozen grunts and jackals, not 20 elites walking in and getting their shit kicked in. Also, the narrative throughline of this action sequence is just hilarious. The elites find an outpost after chasing some children who are off in the woods to get alien mushrooms so they can get high, as you do. Then they follow this youth with a mullet in plot armor to their encampment, only to kill everything that moves, as you do. However, it's when the Spartans show up and start butchering all the elites like they're not even standing there that things get ridiculous. Because you still have elites idiotically hunting down the normal humans while Spartans are there butchering them. I'll talk about it more in depth when we talk about the plot, but there's this moment where this elite is walking along, he's injured, and he's like, okay, Spartans are here. I should probably get back to the holy relic that we were salvaging and retreat, only to see our mulleted youth in plot armor under a truck and go, yes, the gods have decreed that that haircut is an affront, and this heresy must be quelched. What? It's so dumb. Because remember, elites are not undisciplined idiots. This is something a brute would do, not an elite. Then again, given the elite's inaccurate brutish design, perhaps the showrunners got the brutes and the elites confused. Point is, it's comedically dumb. It's one of those things that it doesn't matter how visceral and cool the combat looks. When you see an elite ignoring Spartans to go chase down and kill a child, you can't help but laugh. The other thing that I really liked was the casting choices, at least so far. I'm not gonna go over every actor, but the actress who plays Dr. Catherine Halsey is the right amount of cold and detached genius who is clearly the smartest person in the room, if not on the planet, and has to hide the fact that they have this weird love relationship with their Spartans where it's 50%, yes, I care about these children that were abducted and turned into weapons, but also they're the pinnacle of my genius. And I do think it was narratively an interesting choice to show how much Halsey cares about the Spartans in relationship to her own daughter. The actor and actress for Jacob and Miranda Keyes are also wonderful. They have this great father-daughter chemistry. While we don't see too much of them, which is why I've lumped them together, when we do see them together, it's really good. It's really charming. It's well done. Even if the totality of their interaction is this Oni/UNSC, yeah, the story's weird with that veteran who's used to turning a blind eye to the immorality of this Oni-UNSC hybrid because he's fully sold on the we have to do what we have to do no matter what that is to survive mindset. Where Miranda is this young and naive, plucky, starry-eyed idealist who hasn't really come to terms with what Oni does or the horror of the Human Covenant War. The actor and the actress for the Keyes family brings this believability to this clash of ideals. The other standout actor here is the actor for Master Chief. His performance is subdued. It's very in character with Master Chief, at least 99.9% of the time. He also brings a very necessary physicality to the role. He does a great job with the way that he carries himself and emoting through this suit of armor that can often be lost because he doesn't have a face or shouldn't have a face to look at. The rest of the cast is whatever. The fanfiction stand-ins for Blue Team, not Fred, not Kelly, not Linda, are barely there. They're barely an entity. They do have one great moment where they're being sent to bring in the Master Chief. Where have I heard this plot before? And not Fred basically goes, if anybody's trying to hurt the Chief, they're not an ally. And I was like, yeah, that's a Spartan. Which basically plays into the stupidity of the next character that we're going to talk about, Margaret Perengoski. I don't know if this is a case of miscasting or bad writing, probably bad writing, but Perengoski comes off as more of a fussy grandmother who's a pencil pusher and not the single most dangerous person in Oni. So dangerous, in fact, that Dr. Halsey is the only person to ever disobey Perengoski and not die. I mean, I guess she's still ordering people dead, but it's less like the sharp pragmatism of the character from the lore and more like a comedic, cowering, mustache-twirling villain who's afraid of what this person might do. Which, I mean, if that's what they're going for, they did pull it off. Then we come to the walking, talking plot device that is Quan. The actress is not a bad actress, but Quan is quite possibly one of the most annoying and superfluous characters ever introduced into Halo. She's basically the pilot 2.0. The daughter of a rebel whose mother Master Chief conveniently killed off screen years before the show because the audience won't understand characters unless those characters are magically connected. She serves as this annoying sidekick whose role is to basically morally berate the Master Chief and also serves as this narrative plot point by which the entire series follows. Yeah, talk about your characters that are so dumb, the plot actually has to revolve around how dumb they are. The dichotomy of the Halo show is a dichotomy as old as time. Anytime a studio wants to take a franchise known for its action, from Transformers to Godzilla, the shit that we want to see, the action, the fighting, that works, but it's like 10% of the show. The cheap stuff, the bad characters, the bad drama, the bad dialogue, the generic as fuck plot points, the moments that are meant to shock you only to get you to laugh and roll your eyes and groan with how tepid or tired or trite these moments are, make up 90% of the show. Character motivations are often dumb, and the characters themselves are only as smart as the plot needs them to be in that exact moment. The question that kept running through my mind as I was watching the first episode of Halo is, who exactly is this for? There's a handful of narrative changes that are fundamentally catastrophic to the lore of Halo, falling in line with the stupidity that the writers think they know better than the lore. The story starts out with who would become our hero's drug-addled teen sidekick on a backwater world that mines heavy hydrogen, Quan. We cut between her leaving her father's rebel mining operation and Rebels dumping exposition. This exposition dump goes on for about 10 solid minutes. But hey, at least there's this great, anti-drug message here. Don't go out into the woods and get high on mushrooms, or your entire friends group of mulleted misfits will be hunted down and torn apart by extraterrestrial invaders. Or something like that. Quan survives because she has plot armor so thick that the Master Chief must think that it's an upgrade to his Spartan armor, and that's why he takes her with him. Yeah, just like the pilot from Halo Infinite, I could not care less about Quan, but unlike the pilot from Halo Infinite, you can't ignore Quan. Quan is a main character, and you follow her narrative journey from the death of everybody she knew and loved to being the catalyst for Master Chief going rogue. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, the first 10 minutes is boring exposition. But then, we get what we're all here for, right? The Covenant coming in and butchering civilians. Yes! And then the Spartans coming in and butchering the Covenant. Yes! Now, if you just turn your brain off and enjoy the combat as kinda stilted action, your mileage may vary and you can probably enjoy it. However, the writers are still trying to tell a story here. The Covenant, as we'll find out, have come to Madrigal to secure an artifact as predicted to them by the Blessed One. Dun dun dun! A human amongst the Covenant who can use Forerunner artifacts. Now, this plot point is important because it really goes into the narrative undertone of Halo that things only happen in the plot because everybody is stupid. The Elite's mission was to go to Madrigal and recover the artifact and then leave. But instead of doing that, after they, drilled it out, had it basically ready to go, they saw some children spying on them. And instead of just killing the children or grabbing the artifact and leaving, they decided they're going to hunt them down. Okay, you know what? Fine. Fair enough. They could not have known that Spartans were going to come in and ruin their sport. And come on, I'm sure the Covenant have unions and all that, and they were on their union artifact retrieval lunch break, and I mean, who hasn't gone out and hunted down a little sport while on lunch break? But clearly, they bit off more than they could chew. So, what do? Do they, like the Elites in Halo Reach, retreat when the shit hits the fan? Do they call back to their brother in the bunker and go, hey, so Spartans are here, grab the artifact and go? Or do they nonsensically chase after humans while Spartans are butchering them, failing to recover the artifact, and not phoning ahead to their buddy who should be watching the artifact, who can clearly grab the artifact and fly off? See what I mean? The plot is an idiot plot. It only works because everybody involved is a fucking idiot. And that's one of the biggest problems with the story. The story is nonsensical, moving at the speed of plot convenience. For example, at the start of the fight, the door to the camp is blockaded by vehicles with mounted turrets. When the Elites come through the doors, the mounted turrets do nothing. However, the second the Master Chief picks it up, oh well, suddenly it's slicing, it's dicing, it's pulverizing, it is turning Elites into hamburger. You fucking what, mate? Again, speed of plot. The point is, you had to have the Elite stay behind so he could see Master Chief activate the artifact. However, now you have this narrative plot point where you have this Elite that stayed behind and when shit hit the fan didn't grab the artifact and leave, even though that was the entire point of them being there. And that only works because John has to touch the artifact to trigger his chemically erased memories. And John and the other Spartans only have chemically erased memories because apparently the showrunners could not be bothered to, at the very least, skim through the books. Halo, Fall of Reach, Chapter 3, page 31. Have you read my psychological evaluations? Deja asked Dr. Halsey. Yes, they were quite thorough, she said. Thank you. And I am forgoing your recommendations, Deja. I'm going to tell them the truth. Mendez gave a nearly inaudible grunt of approval. One of the most verbose acknowledgments Dr. Halsey had ever heard from him. As a hand-to-hand combat and physical training DI, Mendez was the best in the Navy. As a conversationalist, however, he left a great deal to be desired. The truth has risk, Deja cautioned. So do lies, Dr. Halsey replied. Any story fabricated to motivate the children, claiming their parents were taken and killed by pirates or by a plague that devastated their planet. If they learn the truth later, they will turn against us. It is a legitimate concern, conceded Deja, and then she consulted her tablet. May I suggest selective neural paralysis? It produces targeted amnesia. A memory loss that may leak into other parts of their brain? No, Dr. Halsey said. This will be dangerous enough for them, even with their intact minds.
But Joker, it's not canon.
You're right. It's worse. This is the Halo timeline where literally everybody went out of their way to make the dumbest choice possible at all times. So after John touches the artifact, Dr. Halsey, on the worst replay monitor ever, gets all hot and bothered about seeing this new alien technology. Mind you, she's on Reach in 2552 and should be balls deep in Forerunner technology on Sword Base. But hey! Fucking details. Parangosky walks in while Dr. Halsey is breathing heavy, and they have a little tit for tat about the funding for the Spartan program. Now, this is basically lore accurate, as the Spartan 3 program is well underway at this point, making it really hard for Oni to justify the Spartan 2 program's spending. Mind you, Halsey doesn't know about this at this time. Here I assume the same thing is happening, which means the moralizing over the Cortana program that we're about to see is kinda sorta fucking dumb. So let me make sure I understand this. Parangosky has a hissy fit over Dr. Halsey cloning herself to turn that clone into a smart AI. Smart AI are not illegal, and flash cloning, it's a muddy area. But at this point, Oni has kidnapped hundreds of children. Some of them they even had the decency of replacing with flash clones that died. So you're telling me Oni is okay with kidnapping hundreds of children and sending these children off to their death and having them die during augmentation and using them as super weapons, but cloning people and turning them into smart AIs is suddenly where we draw the moral and legal line? What? Even if we assume for the sake of argument that because it's not confirmed in the show, the Spartan 3 program isn't happening because alternate timeline, then you still have upwards of 70, almost 80 kids who were kidnapped and replaced with flash clones, half of them dying during the augmentation process. And we're moralizing about flash clones and smart AI, and somehow that's illegal? That's more illegal than kidnapping children and turning them into weapons. What? This is what the show will continue to do, and why I say that the Silver Timeline is the stupidest version of every character in Halo, making the absolute stupidest calls. Because drama! Incompetence is drama! Because an alien genocide wasn't dramatic enough! I'm gonna cut it short because this video is getting long. And there's narratively not actually a lot that happens after this. We have 2 remaining plot points that we really haven't talked about. So we go to High Charity, and credit where credit is due, High Charity looks cool. And we meet the Blessed One, dun dun dun! A human who has the ability to interact with Forerunner technology. So, all humans? Yeah, in this timeline, it's only the super special awesome specific humans. The Blessed One's presence also hurts a major plot point in the canon Halo universe. During Halsey's meeting with Parangosky says they don't know why the Covenant are attacking humanity. Yes, we do. In Contact Harvest, we're told humanity's destruction is the will of the gods. Now, it's actually a lot more interesting and complicated than that. So, TLDR, the Covenant came across a world they thought was a treasure trove of Forerunner artifacts, but couldn't seem to find the Forerunner artifacts, assuming that it would be tech, or libraries, or weapons, stuff that they're used to finding. Confused, they went to their oracle, a shard of Mendicant Bias, who told them that humanity was the Forerunner artifact, that humanity was the Reclaimers. Now shitting and pissing their dicks in their little hovercrafts, the prophets realized the existential threat humanity posed to them and their religion. The prophets decided to wipe out all of humanity. All of them. Every one of them. This is important because in the Halo lore, the question is asked by many elites, yo, these humans are really good fighters. Yeah, a little primitive, but the Spartans, they kick our ass all the time. Why don't we just bring them into the Covenant? So then we cut back to the show, and there's this human running around using Forerunner tech, you know, the tech of their gods, and none of their other people can get it to work, but this random human can? And then other humans show up that can? You might start to see an existential threat to the Covenant. Mind you, this is the same Covenant that couldn't handle asking 343 Guilty Spark a couple of questions. The other plot point is a plot point that 343 is recycling from Halo 5. John going rogue, without the nearly 2 decades of build-up to justify it. Remember, this is not canon. You don't get to play off the fans' attachment to the Halo franchise when it suits you, while also shitting all over canon because you think you know better. But really, here's the problem with the John Goes AWOL narrative. You're in 2552. The fall of Reach takes place between July 25th and August 30th of 2552. Even if this isn't the main timeline, you have to kind of assume that major events won't change, like the fall of Reach and the finding of Halo. We also know that at some point, John returns to the UNSC and is given Cortana, which makes the whole Cortana project drama dumb. Like, you literally show us Cortana in the teaser. And again, smart AI are not taboo, neither is flash cloning. So basically, either all of this drama is thrown out the window when they realize they actually have to get back to the plot that everybody cares about, or Perengoski is removed from the picture. So ultimately, all of this drama for the sake of drama is pointless and goes nowhere. But back to our show. Our UNSC drama concludes with John and the walking plot armor, Madam Mullet, returning to Reach. After John refuses to execute Order 66 like the stormtrooper he apparently is, there's some drama that goes nowhere. The UNSC tries to cut off air to the ship and John's suit, but he fixes that quick fast in a hurry. The Maiden of Mullets wakes up and thinks John did something to her, steals a battle rifle, and holds him at gunpoint. There's drama. And then John says,
"This is Mark 6 Mjolnir armor."
Wait. Hold the fun bus back the fuck up. What did he just say?
"This is Mark 6 Mjolnir armor."
Ah yes, John has Mark 6 armor, which just so happens to look like Mark 4 armor, which is what he had before he got Mark 5 armor during the fall of Reach, but it's actually Mark 6 armor, but it looks like the Halo Infinite armor, which is actually designed off of the Mark IV armor. This might seem like a nitpick and not a big deal, but this is just another one of those instances where the showrunners couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the details. Anyways, their Condor is shot down and they crash on Reach. Perengoski is like, send everybody to retrieve the chief and kill the little rebel girl. Halsey, of course, intercepts the Spartans from Silver Team, which is the stand-in for Blue Team, who are allegedly going to execute the Master Chief. She, of course, countermands those orders and is like, no, just arrest him. There's actually this badass moment where one of the Spartans goes, and what about friendlies? And Not Fred on Not Blue Team says, if they're trying to hurt the Chief, they're not friendly. That was quite possibly the most Halo moment on the entire show. Well, that and when the plasma pistol actually does what a plasma pistol actually does in lore. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Oh yeah, and then there's this part where John takes off his helmet. It's so unearned. Again, you don't get to play off the buildup of 20 years of lore while shitting on the lore. Seeing Chief's face is only important to some people because no one's ever seen his face. Well, outside of comics and some animated stuff and descriptions in the books, but hey, details. And yeah, the Halo show has a few moments where you can kinda sorta see what we would have gotten if 343 and Paramount wanted to create a faithful adaptation, but given the, frankly, bizarre narrative direction where it almost comes off as if the writers are going, what did they do in the lore? Let's not do that. In fact, let's do the exact opposite of that. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. And above all else, stay frosty.